All right, you ready?
Yeah.
Talk to me.
Check.
Hello and welcome into the Section 109 podcast from Studio Breezy. We have a nice number of subscribers right now, Matthew. We have 69. Nobody subscribe. Just kidding. Please subscribe.
On YouTube?
Yeah, on YouTube we have 69. Like, comment, subscribe, do the thing. We love that. And we're going to catch up on a few comments today, Matthew. But before we do, winning is fucking fun, dude.
I enjoy winning better than I enjoy losing.
My hot take continues to be, and I know many others will not agree, but we should do more of it.
Highly recommend. Yeah. Highly recommend. Hey, buddy.
So take us through, Matthew. Obviously, the vibes are high right now, but take us through how you're feeling. 4-game losing streak snapped on right before we get to the full preview, but how are you feeling with the overall performance? How are the vibes?
Vibes are good. I think if we had won that game in kind of the manner that we won the New England game, which was coincidentally our last win, coming off of the 4-game losing streak, I would be happy that we won because winning cures everything, but also a little concerned that this may not be a sustainable thing.
Yeah, and to remind folks, the New England game, like they were the better team for about 68 minutes. And then we drew around the 70th minute, we drew a red card. It was second yellow that turned into a red, and which was very good. And then we dominated from 70 to 90 and put the game away. And it's a deserved win, but it's not a win that we got 11 on 11. And while that counts because you drew the red card, you did the things to do, it doesn't feel as good. This was a comprehensive victory. Whistle to whistle. I mean, there's moments of whatever because it's a good league, but this was a win we deserved on the balance of things.
Yeah, we were the better team. We had more shots. We had more shots inside the box. We had
way more shots on target.
We won the XG battle pretty handily,
depending on who you look at.
Yeah,
we should talk through a little bit of that.
I didn't even write the other one down just because I thought ours was just a much better number. That made more sense. It was a thorough. It was not dominant, right? We did get the goal, and a very deserved goal. But that was also it. Like from then we ceded possession, and played like a team that had lost 4 games in a row. In that desperate to just
get the result,
lock down the game and get the result.
But I think differently from the last few games, and spoiler alert before we get to one of my key takeaways is we didn't have any defensive errors.
No.
We've been plagued by them at times this season, and we just had a really clean game from that point of view, and we really just controlled everything. But let's get to the lineups, Matthew. I'm sure Bob Juan would like to hear them, and Sir Mix-a-Lot. Hey, boys. And Toby, who's hiding somewhere. But take me through the lineup. Take us through some of the surprises, because pregame you found me, and I think you looked me in the eye and you said, we're fucked, which is also Matthew and I don't live game day. Well, first of all, actually, let's rewind a little bit. Normally, we live game day in a very pessimistic manner, meaning Matthew's and my superstition is pretty shared, and that is to say, like, we're going to lose. And that's what we say a lot, like things are going to go poorly, everything's going to go bad. And then when we win, it's like the expectation's been set, but also like we haven't jinxed it. But because all the juju has been bad, and because we haven't been able to get anything done, we changed everything. We marched a different direction. Shout out to Daniel if you're listening, because they had such a big group that they had the whole like thing closed, so we couldn't march the same direction. So we marched a different direction. We set up all the TIFO in like different orders, including like, it was just completely different. I did not wear my lucky shirt, which has not worked in 2 straight games, so I'm not wearing it anymore. I wore a women's jersey to a men's game, trying to just break things up a little bit. And before the game, when you were telling me and being very negative, which this is what I want to talk about, was why you were being negative and pessimistic before the game in particular, which I think had some merit. I was being nothing but positive. I told you I was changing the vibes, and being pessimistic wasn't working. And I was like, fuck you, we're going to win. And we did. So I don't know, by the way, I don't know what, because we changed everything. I think I'm just going to reset and go back to what we did before. And then if it doesn't work, I don't know. We're just going to reset everything again. But anyway, tell me why you were feeling pessimistic rolling into the game when you looked at the lineup.
So the context here is game on a Saturday night. The night before was Orlando's debut game in the Leagues Cup, the MLS competition with Liga MX. And Orlando is hosting Montreal in Orlando. And a couple of players, number one, a couple of regular Next Pro players for Orlando. Alex Freeman, the right back, and Yutaro Jascoda or something like that. I'm probably pronouncing that Japanese name pretty wrong.
No idea. He's really fucking good, and I like him a lot. That's all I know.
We're both on the bench for Orlando, for big Orlando, and Alex Freeman gets maybe 12 minutes at the end of the game. It's like a 4-1 game. They pretty thoroughly dominated. And that was all she wrote. The lineups come out on Saturday, and Alex Freeman is in the starting lineup for Orlando City B, which isn't like that unheard of. He played in both other games against us. And Yutaro is in the starting lineup for Orlando City B. Again, not crazy. He had played in at least one of the games against us previously.
You forgot a player.
I'm not done yet.
Okay.
Those are the two regulars. And then we get to the more fun ones. Luca Petrasso, Canadian left back, who has not played a second in MLS Next Pro.
Ever in his career.
Ever. Was starting at left back. He did not feature at all in the Leagues Cup game.
No, he was on the bench. But he started at left back.
And he's played a few games for Orlando over the year. And then he
has like 23 or 30 MLS appearances over the last 2 years. He's an MLS player.
Yeah. And then the interesting one,
couldn't have told it by how he played. Oh, sorry.
The real interesting one was Jack Lynn, who
featured for 15 minutes, 16 minutes by the way.
12. He was in the same substitution moment as Alex Freeman.
He in the 78th. Oh, you're right. I thought it said 75th. I apologize. Freeman was in the 84th, by the way, and Sakata was in the 84th. So they each got about 5 minutes.
Sakata did play. Interesting.
He did.
Anyway, it doesn't really matter. Jack Lynn is an interesting name because he is the reigning, in a 3-way tie, the reigning MLS Next Pro Golden Boot winner.
And if I've understood correctly,
Orlando City,
the MLS Next Pro MVP from last year.
Yeah, that sounds right.
And by the way, the year before that, I think he also was a first-team player. MLS Next Pro first team, quote unquote, like all-star type of thing in his first year in MLS Next Pro because he played 2 years, from what I read on Transfermarkt.
Maybe. I don't know. My point is that's a real interesting one because obviously he has
3 appearances in MLS Next Pro, including last night or Saturday night rather.
Yeah, one of them was, I believe, there was a game maybe midweek in like that special Inter Miami scheduling break, which they kind of just gave them a little extra time during Copa America for, I don't know, messy reasons. And both Orlando City and Inter Miami dropped like 5 MLS players apiece into a Next Pro match. And it was wild. It was actually high comedy. So I think he got one of those.
I didn't actually look at the other game he played. I would suspect this is the first away game he's played all season.
My guess
first
is,
one outside of the state of Florida. I don't know if that Miami or Orlando was at home. But all 4 of these players, so they played Friday night,
right,
were flown in on Saturday.
Right.
You think they flew him coach?
No, they were on a PJ, man.
Are you sure?
I mean,
I bet they flew him coach. But they flew American Airlines.
No.
If they flew a PJ up here with 4 players, I'm even more impressed. I doubt they did.
How long?
I guess it could have been more than 4 players because I guess they could have had coaches and stuff down there for that game too.
I'm sure they would have had a support staff person. How long do you want to vamp while I look this up?
No, I don't. I think if any of the listeners can figure it out, or you should figure it out later because it's not worth figuring out now.
Okay.
But that is fun.
So but so they bring in some players, and This is essentially the concern that we always have with MLS Next Pro.
Still have, by the way.
Is that like, for whatever reason, they drop down a bunch of players to play against you.
Hey, my laundry's done.
Nice. It turns out, though, if you don't let players have the ball,
At
have
all.
a share of the game, they don't do anything.
To be fair, Freeman, who is not a drop down, he is a regular MLS Next Pro player that also gets to go up a lot.
Yeah, he's on an MLS contract, but he's young. He's a good player.
He's real fucking good. He was their danger man all night. He was their only danger. He probably had, let's say they had 0.6 XG. I don't remember what it was. He probably had 0.5 of it. Or 0.4 of it on what they read
on those two chances that he had. Yeah, I mean he's a good player.
One of them is one of them's a really good chance. One of them's a less good chance. But they're both like 1-on-1 with one defender and the goalkeeper.
Orlando did an interesting thing where they played a back four, kind of a similar system to us actually, 4-2-3-1, but the left back mostly didn't run that much, and they kind of
he was busy chasing Alex McGrath.
They kind of attacked in a back three and let Freeman just go high and wide.
And it's wild because they basically started two MLS outside backs. They started the guy who's just an MLS player who clearly didn't want to be there, which was hilarious and not something that I would have expected, but it's what definitely happened in Luca Petrasso. And then on the other side, Freeman was dominant for large portions of the game when he got a chance. He had two big get over the top where it's like, oh boy, that guy can move. And I do remember him from the first game we played them away with that soggy field when we got absolutely robbed them.
Was also good.
Smash and grab. I remember him being really, really good. And I like him a lot. So go through the lineup for them real quick now that we've delayed a little bit on that. Sorry, I want to talk
for
about
us.
Oh, you didn't even do their whole lineup.
I don't care about the rest of their lineup.
Their
lineup was pretty standard outside of those players.
They dropped down 4 players and they started those 4 players. Call it 2 extra players or whatever else. But the lineup was really good, and you looked at that and said, holy shit, we're fucked. And I looked at that and said, boy, that's a rough way to try to get back to winning ways. And then we just didn't let, like you said, Jack Lynn touch the ball at all.
We really didn't let him touch it.
Sakuda didn't do much. I think he, in part because Milo, we'll get to the lineup in a second, but when Milo was defending on his strong foot, when he would cut inside, they just really didn't let him have the ball at all. I think that kind of worked out in that part. And then, the left back looked disinterested. I don't know, man. It was just not what I expected. I thought they'd put up a tougher fight, and we really.
So I think a lot of that comes down to the way we played.
Yes, correct. I agree.
And
with that.
how we made it a point of emphasis to control the game and to not let them have any of the game. And that's really important for us, because when we do that, we are much better.
For sure.
Than when sometimes a game and Next Pro can easily devolve into this kind of a track meet, back and forth, end to end. Super exciting for the neutral if you're just trying to watch some MLS Next Pro, but that's not how our team is successful. And so we did a great job of making the game about things that we do well.
Mm-hmm. Yes.
And I think
the game got played on our terms.
Yeah. And I think that bears out in both the scoreline, and the analytics, and most of the conventional stats too.
So something that you asked Rod off podcast last time was are you going to continue before you left? Are you going to continue with the formation that we had changed to for 2 games? And he said, I don't know. That was his response. I don't know. We're still thinking about it. They didn't continue with it.
Yeah, we went back to a back 4. So let's get into it. Jean-Antoine in goal, coming off of his suspension for the red card
and getting
at Carolina Corp.
Extraordinarily unlucky to not win his matchup at the MLS goalkeeper wars, which shout out to Jean, and that's just really, really cool.
Right.
And if he doesn't hit the post there, he wins that.
Yeah, exactly. A really cool thing at the MLS All-Star game.
Who won, by the way? I turned it off after John was out.
The Crown goalkeeper.
Really?
Yeah.
I thought for sure so I watched the first 2 matchups, and then I didn't watch the final. And I thought for sure the Dallas goalkeeper, who just threw it into the corner 7 times in a row.
The 2 best shot stoppers in the tournament happened to play in the semifinal together. Shitaru did not allow a goal in goalie wars at all.
That's wild. He is also 9 foot tall, so it makes sense.
6 foot. He's 21 and 6'6". Like it's.
I think he's 6'8".
He
He looks like he should. I just watched the Olympics basketball replay today, and I think he looks like he should be playing Olympics basketball. He's so tall.
Yeah, absolutely. So shout out to Jean for the honor. That's really, really cool.
Well, they were honored to be able to play with him. To be clear,
right back Milo Garvanyan.
Return to the right side for Milo.
Right center back Farid Zarzar. Left center back Duven Viafara. Left back Joseph Perez.
Yeah, so no Toli.
Toli was not in the matchday squad at all.
Don't like that.
We hope that he's back soon.
Rumor I heard was from Toli at the bar, so not a rumor, was that he has an injury that he picked up during our last game, and he's not quite yet 100%.
Yeah, well, hopefully he's back soon.
And he's a very tough boy, so he played through it the rest of that game and didn't come out, and then was having the bad after effects after the game. And we need him back very soon. But I say that, like, Farid played great, we were fine, but Toli's just such a difference maker, especially on set pieces.
2 6s in this game. Jude Arthur and Andres Jimenez are in Zazu. And here's where we get to the interesting change.
This I never would have guessed.
A single 10 in Luis Garcia Sosa.
That's not the part I wouldn't have guessed. I could have guessed that.
Winger Alex McGrath.
Captain and apparently right winger.
Left winger Taylor Gray. Striker Mehdi Womri.
And to add something to this, it played like a 4-2-3-1 in defense, and it played like a 4-3-3 in attack. That's pretty common, but Andres was pushed up quite a bit when we were attacking. Not all the time, but he pushed up quite a bit and got forward and really tried to dictate with passing, going a lot further forward than Jude did offensively. But they also on defense were very much a double pivot, with Jude sometimes going up and running around and Andres staying put, or them switching and whatever else. So it was nice to see it play fluidly, and I see a really nice understanding between those two guys in particular, defensively and in possession. I think they probably played the most minutes side by side. I don't think they definitely played the most minutes side by side in a double pivot this season, and I think I could really see that. That chemistry there. And in this game in particular, that was really good because we were able to control by keeping the ball and by defending well, and we really didn't allow anything to come up through the middle there, and that is in large part due to those two guys.
Yeah, it was an excellent performance in midfield, and really from the I'll say.
Also, you had Milo and JP tucking in pretty aggressively in this game into the midfield, which added to numbers in the midfield and added to our control. I'm not going to say domination of the midfield, but our control of the midfield.
I would say it was pretty dominant in possession.
Yes, I would agree with that. Defensively, I'm not saying we were bad. I just wouldn't classify it quite as domination in the midfield. We were good in the midfield. I would definitely offensively, we controlled the midfield especially, and that's also because Lucho just went Super Saiyan for that whole game.
Lucho's inclusion,
Luis Garcia Sosa, by the way.
Lucho's inclusion in this game really, I think, took up a notch our ability to just possess the ball.
If you haven't watched the 90 and 15
and to probe a little bit,
if you haven't watched 90 and 15, watch it.
He was really, really good to kind of just dictate and probe the edges and try to find some penetration, but mostly just to keep the ball and to keep the tempo. And I think it was a real interesting move by the staff, and it clearly paid off.
So to play for Rod Underwood, you need two things. You need a lot of things, but you need two things in particular. First thing is decision making. That's 1A. 1B is first touch. And in this game, Luis had both of those at 100%. His first, I don't know if he had a bad first touch all game. If you go watch that 90 and 15, he is constantly receiving the ball, turning, weaving, zigging, zagging at all the right times, and making the decision to either recycle, to turn and go forward, or to dribble and keep it. It was a real masterclass from Luis, and he really dominated this game. It was kind of single-handedly in possession in the midfield. Other players did a lot of stuff, but it was just like get the ball to Luis and then pass to somebody else, then get it to Luis, then pass to somebody else, then get it to. It was just constantly Luis on the ball, and I really think that helped us defensively too, because they couldn't turn us over.
Right.
And that first game we played away to them, they turned us over regularly, repeatedly, and often. And in this game, I mean, they couldn't. There are moments in that 90 and 15 where Luis gets the ball, turns into like 4 different guys, scampers around, turns back around, comes back, and like it's just, I mean, it's like the ball's it's a little bit Messi-esque, and I don't use that like lightly. Like just with the way the ball was attached to his left foot that whole game was just wonderful.
Yeah, 57 touches for him in his 73 minutes. His passing accuracy was 84%. Created 3 chances. Pretty good. Pretty good performance.
Those are good numbers,
there.
yeah.
So I think this game starts hot. You can clearly see that
in the third minute we had essentially a tap in.
Let's go to 8 seconds in. I can't remember if it's Lucho or if it's Andres commits a foul.
Oh yeah.
At like the 10-second mark.
It's Andres.
Okay, and then Lucho commits one
right
about,
after
about the 42nd mark.
Yeah.
As soon as they put the ball back into play,
we were very clear. Remember when Rod said like we're not getting the opponents are getting too many touches before we get a tackle in, before we get a challenge in.
Yeah.
We changed that literally 8 seconds into the game.
Yeah, the pressing, the pressing, and I don't just mean like the back line, the Orlando back line has the ball and we press, which did happen, but also just pressing from the first touch wherever the ball is was the intensity was raised.
Andres also does the thing that Andres is so good at, which is to commit a yellow card worthy foul in the first minute, so you won't get it.
Yeah,
it was so good.
just to set the tone, and I thought that kind of thing mattered, and I think for some of those, for guys like Jacqueline and Luca Petrasso especially, who are just getting minutes down here, you're on the road. It's kind of hot now. It's steamy because it's raining, which is probably honestly better for them, given that they live in Orlando. But like you come into this environment, you're like a guy like Luca Petrasso especially, like, I don't really want to be here.
He very clearly didn't want to be there, in my
and so like
opinion.
When you go in, it's like some of those. It's like some of those times where we've hosted an MLS team in an early exhibition where it's like purely minutes. They're at some lower division, whatever side. They're not like, it's just purely a minutes exercise for them and they don't want to get hurt and you're more up for the game than they are. You can stab a bitch during those times of games. And I think that was the mantra of like, no. Like, we don't give a shit what you think about this game.
Yeah.
Like, this matters to us. Like, we need this one. And I thought we came out with that intensity and directness. Taylor Gray gets a shot off.
Yeah, that was
on the edge of the box in like the second minute.
So one thing that I think we kind of got away from a little bit, but the thing that we did early on this season that you and I commented on is like we shot and crossed just much more frequently than in past seasons. Like, we had guys, it's not pulling up from like distance, but it's like you got a shot on goal, a lot more of taking it rather than waiting for the perfect shot.
And a lot of that.
And a lot of earlier crossing. And I think, I'm not saying it's perfect because there are times you should wait for the better shot. There's times you make the extra pass, whatever else. But I think you saw a statement of intent, like you're saying, from minute 2 or whatever, minute 1, whenever Taylor hits that first shot across, which is not a great shot to take, to be honest. Like, it's way out there and like it's not a real hard save. He takes a very similar shot that forces a difficult save because it dips right at the end a few minutes later. But you do see that like guys are going to have to step to Taylor because he's ready to go. Guys are going to have to step to other players. Guys are going to have to follow. Luca Petrasso does not follow Alex's run.
What happens just a minute later, right after the Taylor shot, the right back closes in and is mindful about Taylor. And so the ball, this also comes off of a pressing sequence where we win the ball high up the field. Orlando still has some numbers to back, but JP makes the overlapping run and fizzes a ball across the 6. And in part, he's that free because they're mindful of Taylor Gray. They're mindful of what he can do in that channel. And taking that shot when he did a minute earlier, could be just that little bit of, he's probably going to shoot. I need to be more, off we go.
Yeah, I agree.
In that, so JP fizzes the ball. This is 3rd minute. Golden chance.
That's the best opportunity we've created all season.
Yeah, it really is. A massive chance that McGrath is just unable to keep the ball down on. And I don't know about you, but like when you're on a 4-game losing streak and you get that chance and you miss it, it's like, oh man,
That's my.
here we go again.
That's exactly what I was thinking.
And all credit to,
And that's the guy I wanted to default
that's
to.
exactly the person I wanted to fall to as well. And all credit to Alex because
It didn't seem to phase him. He had the goldfish mentality, the
it just
striker
like
mentality.
made it more.
He just kept going. He got 6 shots in that game. I looked it up.
Yeah.
He got 6 shots in that. I remember I counted 5 to you, but he got 6 shots in that game. And he, of course, gets the goal later. But he's dangerous all game, and he just continues to push and push and push and does not let that miss get to him.
Yeah, 40 of 48 passing. It's 83% from the right wing position. He had 6 shots. 1 was blocked. 3 off target, including that one and 2 others that were massively close. He had the goal.
Well, he has the save. There's the one that's a save,
and then he has the one that's saved.
So
just a ridiculous.
Let's talk about Alex a little bit more at wing here for a second. So first of all, I never expected that. But one thing I really, really liked about him at right wing, when we were pressing and when we were defending, his work rate is just so much different than the average winger. Because he's used to, what is the thing that makes Alex special? He runs and runs and steps and runs and steps. And like he gets into these opportunities, he makes opportunities for himself, for others, and gets into space. He does a lot of different things, but that really translated in a way that I don't know if I wouldn't have expected, but I just didn't know how it would translate to right wing. And I thought he was spectacular. And he made the amount of returning runs where he was at one end of the field, because he was playing much more like a wing back than he was a winger, where he was just going end to end, running doggies, as Fuller used to say, end to end sprints. And like he would be at one end making a play, the ball would get turned over, and he would be the one going back and taking the ball away from the winger who was trying to cut in on Milo on the other end. It was spectacular. And he also added a lot of numbers to midfield. And I really do think, based on how he played, that until Jesus Ibarra comes back healthy, I don't know that we're going to see Alex there every game, because some days we're going to need him in the midfield, but I think we're going to see him preferred there at least to start games. And then what we did later in the game is we dropped him back into the midfield and we put another winger out there, put Minjay out there. But yeah, I think Alex was a revelation for me, at least at right winger.
76 touches on the night. He was. This is the part that really stands out for me. He won 3 tackles. All 3 tackles that he attempted, he won. 1 block, 3 clearances. They were all with his head. 5 interceptions, 7 recoveries.
Yeah, the 7 recovery and 500. Those are insane statistics
For a winger.
They're insane statistics if you're in the midfield. 5 interceptions is 7 interceptions.
5 interceptions, 7 recoveries.
5. I don't actually know recovery type, but 5 interceptions is wild, dude. That is, yeah. He was electric in this game.
He was 6 of 8 in ground duels. He was fouled 3 times.
He was an absolute monster, and he got 6 shots. That's just bananas.
Yeah, he was on one.
And if he plays like that at right wing, we're going to be pretty good.
Yeah.
And this was a comprehensive performance on the control side, because we really just defensively, we had the numbers back. So we had a couple key turnovers that you, not to call anybody out that turned the ball over, but we had a couple key turnovers in the midfield that both you and I were like, oh no, when the turnovers happened. But every single time we had numbers back, every single time those turnovers were 15 yards or so outside of the 18-yard box. So we could recover. We were able to do things. And we really just didn't give them any hope. I asked Jean-Antoine after the game, I said, how many big saves did you have? And he said 0. I wanted to make sure he didn't think he had any big saves. He's the one who would have made them, so like he would have felt that. And there's the one that looks like it's a really big save. There's 2 that look like really big saves towards the end of the game. One that's actually off target, which he doesn't know anything about, so it's great that he saves it. And then there's the one that bounces up to him on the cut-in where a guy beats like 5 guys, but he also gets the ball poked away and it bounced off his foot. But neither of those are like what he would classify, or I would classify, as big saves. Like he just really didn't have much to do. And that goes back to the control, where we controlled the ball with possession on the offensive side and a little bit of defensive possession. And then when we did get when we did back off after we scored, and when we did let them like come on to us and like absorb some pressure, we bent and didn't break. Just like earlier on in the season, it's a different kind of control, but it's like we didn't get stretched out, we didn't get roasted.
There was always help
every time,
and that's really key, because like you're gonna get beat on occasion, and there were moments where remember
the first Orlando home game where Sakuda absolutely annihilates Fareed. It's Fareed that's out on isolated on the wing and like just does the thing that really good wingers do.
I think it's Milo, but yeah,
it's Fareed. It doesn't matter. He gets annihilated, but it's Fareed, and he cuts it back in and makes a tap in, right? And we didn't let that happen a single time. And there was on that play, one of the things that sticks out is there was no help.
Yeah,
and in this game there was help.
Yeah, no, it's huge.
What do you want to see next game? And I know you did a little watching of some Toronto.
Yeah, so let's before we get into that, there's one thing I do want to see, and I didn't write down my third key takeaway, and this is just going to be it. We got the goal, 57th minute or so, and that was outside of a couple moments. Min-jae gets not a breakaway because he's very much on the wing, but we get kind of a counterattack moment for Min-jae right after he subs on in the 82nd minute. There wasn't much. We didn't do much with the ball after we scored. Now, part of that is we got the goal, we got the lead. We've lost 4 in a row. We need to protect this lead. We need to protect these points. Part of that is Orlando changed how they were playing and made it really difficult for us. I think that should be acknowledged as well.
Yeah, Orlando's decent.
And what I want to see in a Toronto game scenario, when we get that when we get that 1 goal lead,
hell yeah,
is I want to see us not rest on our laurels. I want us to be able to win the ball back and be able to play with the ball more, have a little bit of that defensive possession.
Yeah,
invite Toronto to press a little bit and to step up a little bit, because I think Orlando's back three or Toronto's back three can be taken advantage of, especially in transition. And transition does not have to be you win the ball, let's counterattack. Transition can be we've passed the ball around midfield 555 times in the span of 4 seconds. You're stepping up, and now we hit you. With some space and some numbers. I think they're incredibly vulnerable from that kind of play. And this is the type of game where someone who has that like incisive pass qualities that can split lines, someone like a Luis Garcia Sosa, who put a great ball for Alex McGrath, that the keeper made a nice save on. Someone like Callum Watson, who had a couple of great balls in behind in the first half against Philadelphia. Those types of players with some time and some space, I think might have a chance to really make an impact in this game, especially with a 1 goal lead. I don't know what Rod's going to do. I don't know if he's going to. If I had to pick right now today, assuming that Anatoly's not 100% and not going to be available, I think we go with the same group again. Because why change it? And your natural change, and one that we did make in the 73rd minute, with Lucho on a yellow card already, with a 1 goal lead, and we all of a sudden we were not having much of the ball. We brought on Callum Watson for Luis Garcia Sosa. A little bit more running in midfield, a little bit of an opportunity for that final pass that we never
legs
that we never had a chance to actually play. But I think that's an avenue. Toronto don't give up a lot. They've only given up 21 goals in 17 games. Or no, they've given up 26 goals in 17 games. They've only scored 21. And they scored 4 goals in their last game. So
They have a lot of draws.
they don't typically. They only have 3 draws. It's reversed from how you're used to it. Wins.
I thought I heard him say on the broadcast that Orlando had like 8 draws.
Toronto.
Oh, I was talking about Orlando.
Oh, I'm talking about Toronto. They don't give up a lot.
Yeah.
They're, if you remember from earlier podcasts, I've said that like the way we play, we try to have games not have a lot in them.
What did you call it? The Murphy's Law?
Yeah. Murphy's Law in soccer. We try not to have games with a ton of opportunities for things to happen. Toronto kind of live by that same standard. Just not a ton happens in their games. Now, that being said, like, don't get me wrong, like they've got some good players. Like we say this all the time, everyone in this league has some really good players. I think they skew a little bit younger than some teams we play. But like I'll note this, they've got a 3-year MLS Next Pro player who we all know from his 1 season at New Amsterdam, Jesus Baptiste. He'll probably be playing right wing or left wing back, depending on what kind of scheme they're going with. He's a good player. I mean, if you remember from him at New Amsterdam, he'll dribble past you. Like, he's incredibly technical. Also a speedster. He can create for himself or others. And an extremely versatile kind of player. Like, everyone can do those kinds of things in this league on these MLS 2 teams. And I think an underrated bit of this game is that I don't think Toronto travel that well, based on their home
road splits.
Their home road splits. If memory serves, from looking at the standings, this is not exactly an
You think they fly
easy.
Spirit?
Probably not. This is not exactly an easy trip for them. This is not like flying to New York, right?
Yeah.
Like you've got to leave Toronto.
It's also gonna be a little warmer here.
Yeah, it will. And you've got to come to Chattanooga, and whether that means you're taking a connection on Delta or on United or something like that, or you're flying and busing like we do a lot for some of our road games. Like that's not terribly easy for a young team, and I think it'll be important for us to come out and play and like establish that we're going to play our game again, and then take the chances when they come, and take the second chance when they come, and bury them before they have a chance to have some hope.
Love that prediction. Love that idea. We should do that. I have a couple stats I'd like to run by you.
Let me finish the subs real quick, and then let's get into some stats. 82nd minute, double change. Minjae Kwok came in for Jude Arthur. Minjae went to the right wing.
Minjae did not play the 6.
And Alex McGrath dropped into
the 8,
midfield.
and Andres went to the 6.
Ethan Corin for Mehdi Womri, who would put in an absolute shift running around. And then
Welcome back, Ethan Corin.
94th
to the starting
minute.
lineup, or to the field rather.
94th minute, Joseph Perez it went for
Looked
a ball,
like he died.
and I think he just got a cramp.
Oh, he said he's fine, but like I was worried.
And Jesse Williams came on to replace him for the last like 2 minutes of stoppage time. So,
fouling is winning is a thing you like to say. Do you know the foul totals for them and foul totals for us?
it was like 14-8.
It was 14-8. We in the first half, good job. We in the first half had 9 and they had 5. Second half we had 5, they had 3. But 9 fouls gives you a little peek at the intensity that we were pressing
two
with.
in the first minute, like.
Yeah. They had 1 shot on target, which I would argue they had 0 because that was a deflection. Pretty sure that's the one that we think skewed the XG.
Or I think that's the one that skewed the XG, but also they've got a kind of a cross that it was Gene's first actual involvement. That it's a cross that he saves. They probably give him a save for that.
Maybe. We had 492 total passes. They had 453. In our own half, we had 188. In their own half, they had 234.
Yeah.
In the opposition half, so in their half, we had 241. In our half, they had 155. Even though we backed off and let them come after us, it shows you how much control we had, and we were in their half. We didn't just have a bunch of defensive possession in our own half.
Yeah, the game was played. The game was played
half.
in their half. The tilt was really nice on it, and I think
for long periods, because like again, they have a similar number of total passes to us completed, or I guess it's just total passes in our half. We have a similar number in their half as they have in their half.
Yeah,
and they have anyway. Those are two. When I looked at that stat, that made me very happy.
Yeah, that's definitely like
it's a particularly positive stat for us.
That's a stat that when it happens like that for us, we typically do pretty well.
Correct.
I'll note here, CFC.
We also had 25 touches in the opposition box.
CFC has the possession here at 47 to 53, with Orlando having 53. FOTMOB has it reversed.
Yes, 52 and 48.
52-48. Possession is a little bit subjective.
Very subjective.
I think that it's also it's indicative of the 96 minutes or whatever. But only because it's so heavily weighted. Orlando's possession is so heavily weighted to the last 30. And I wish I looked at that number at halftime, but the burrito was calling my name.
In the first half, FOTMOB says we had 63 to 37.
Yeah, that checks out.
And in the second half, it says they had 62 to 38.
Yeah.
So, it's FOTMOB. It's not perfect, but there's your breakdown.
That checks out.
Matthew, are you ready to get to a few listener questions?
Let's do it. I think these are mostly older questions.
They are, and I apologize we didn't get to them until now. Some of them are comments, some of them are questions. But Albert said, this is going back to the Atlanta game. Also, I'm not sure if I missed this, but I was hoping you guys would talk about how Atlanta coach got a red card. I was seated in the midfield, and waving to him was an amazing bonus at the game.
Yeah.
So shout out, first of all, for waving to him. Hell yeah.
Yeah, that's actually a pretty easy one.
And something we should have talked about. I don't think we talked about it on the review because I forgot about it.
The Atlanta coach said something that was a little over the line, but he also said it outside of his box. And you can typically get away with that with one of those things at a time, but not both.
Also, I was told that both benches were warned pregame that the boxes, unlike any other game, including last game, who I told the fourth he was a chicken for not enforcing. He was standing right there with the guy way outside his box, and he just walked away. I was so irritated, but they told him before the game the benches they were going to enforce the boxes. Mm-hmm. So like coaching staffs needed to stay inside the box. So when he was outside the box and like you said something bad, it was just an immediate get out of here.
One of those things you can get away with.
And also he knew because he walked off the field pretty calmly.
Yeah. His point was made.
Yeah, that he also may have been trying. You never know, but sometimes coaches are trying to get tossed out or trying to get a yellow. Maybe he wasn't trying to get a red, but sometimes coaches are trying to motivate their team with a display of whatever. And
much more of a common thing in basketball.
Way more common in basketball,
but sometimes it does happen in soccer. Yeah. All right, next one.
Thanks, guys, for the great podcast. Appreciate that. Can you talk about how man of the match, quote unquote, is being selected? Because I was a little bit surprised that McGrath was selected after missing a penalty.
This is the Atlanta game.
And unless he's not the one who took it and I just missed it, that's from Albert again. He said, if I might need glasses, it might not have been him that took it, but I think he took it and missed it. How did he get man of the match?
This is the Atlanta game again. Pretty easy. He had 2 assists.
Also, how is man of the match selected?
I have no idea.
I don't actually know the answer to this. We should probably ask somebody if we remember. Not if we remember. We should just ask somebody the next time somebody's on the podcast that would know. But Alex knows. Not Alex McGrath. Alex in the Patzel in the front office. But I bet you it's an intern in the front office. And I don't mean an intern I mean just like somebody who works in the social media. I don't actually mean an intern. Sorry, we used to have so many interns that worked. I think it's probably somebody that looks at kind of like how it feels. Because I don't think they're doing voting that I've seen during the game. They used to do in-game voting, but I think somebody
that was a weird Nissan thing.
I think somebody looks at it and goes, That makes the most sense. And let's be real. Like this is the man of the match award thing is what's the right word for this? A marketing piece.
Yeah.
So like, who's a big name player? McGrath's captain. Who do fans like? Who's going to generate some clicks? That's why I think it is and I think they of course are trying for somebody who deserves it, but like I think it's just a really.
He had 2 assists.
It's just a really simple but sometimes you see, I've seen defenders or Gene or somebody get it where you're like, they had nothing to do or whatever. Like I do think it's just a very subjective thing where somebody that's not, you don't have the coach picking man of the match during the game. Put it that way. I think it's just somebody in the front office who's selected to pick it, and I do think that there is a marketing piece or a social media piece that goes into it, where if they can pick somebody that's going to get a little better engagement, they're going to do that. And I think that makes sense. I think that's how it works across sports a lot of times with online things. This isn't a broadcast thing; it's an online thing.
Quite frankly, I don't care how they pick it.
That wasn't the question, Matthew. The question was, how do they pick it? And that's my guess. Don't actually know. Timmy Dungan asks, who do you guys think should be the next inductees into the Hall of Legends? And I like this question a lot.
That's fun. As someone who is on the nominating committee.
Who are you thinking?
I've been giving it a second thought since we put together the group for the last time. But we had 6 names last time? 5 names last time?
I don't remember.
So Bill, Zeka, and Thomas Clark were your 3 inductees.
That part I remember.
I remember we had Chris Oching in the group to be voted on. We had Aaron Ridley in the group to be voted on. Did we have Caitlin Newsom as well?
I don't know. She was who I thought when we were talking about long before it happened, like who I thought could be one of the first or second ballots. So she would be on my thing.
So I would, and I'm not speaking for the group here. This is just me speculating. I'm gonna guess that all 3 that did not get selected will probably be back on the ballot. I'm gonna guess.
By the way, Hall of Legends is fucking cool. It's actually in the hallway on the thing. It's so cool.
No, it's dope. I'm gonna guess those 3 are gonna be back. There is a bit of criteria for how folks are selected to be on the ballot. There's a kind of a time in waiting requirement, similar to how Cooperstown Baseball Hall of Fame.
So like Marcus wouldn't be eligible next year.
No, I want to say it's like 3-year gap.
You know who might be eligible next year?
I've slept since then. Juan will be eligible at some point, but I don't know if he's on.
He's your no-brainer first ballot when he becomes eligible, and I don't know if that's next year or next year or the following year.
Got a year.
Also, are we doing it every year? Is CFC doing it every year?
I think we're gonna do it every year, but we did 3 the first round. We may decide to only have 1.
So I will say the next ones I'd like to see inducted, depending on like eligibility, I guess for like timeout. Juan Hernandez is number 1.
I mean, like Juan's going to get into the Hall of Fame when Juan is eligible to get in the Hall of Fame. I don't think that takes a.
The question was, who do I want to see on the next one? And Juan's my number 1. I think Caitlin Newsom's up there for me. I think she's an original CFC women's player. She's given tremendous service to the foundation. She continues to do that. Yeah. She continues to be an integral part of the Chattanooga FC community. And I know one of the criteria is like, or one of the possible criteria is like, commitment's the wrong word. I can't think today. Is like contributions to.
Yeah, it's not just on the field.
Right, it's off field too, and she like checks those boxes like very few others. And then I'll give you maybe one that I don't know if you're thinking of, but I'm thinking of right now. It's Mr. Sheldon Grizzle. I think he, not only being a founder and a player, but he's also was a general manager and vice chairman of the board for a long time. He's signed on that share certificate up there, and he would also be in my short. That's my 3 short list. You can put it whatever order you want, but that's kind of the 3 next ones I would put on my list. Probably in that order.
I think we got to find a way to get Chris Oching in there eventually.
By the way, great with Chris Oching, great with Aaron Ridley.
That's a tough one though, because Chris's last season was 2015.
Just because it's been a while doesn't make it any different.
No, but like
fan vote wise, that might make it a little more difficult.
Turned over. I mean, like think about it. Like if memory serves, and Chris's last season was 2015. Juan showed up at the end of 2015.
Mm-hmm.
Juan's first season, those 7 games, 1 regular season and 6 playoff games, at the beginning of his incredibly long CFC career, was 2015.
You know, one more person we haven't mentioned. It's not quite there yet, but first ballot person for me, Richard Dixon.
Yeah, I haven't even given that any thought, because he was a player up until about
3 weeks ago.
February. But yeah, I think Richie will almost certainly.
Also, first ballot's going to be
one day.
First ballot's going to be difficult. I mean, you made that like comment earlier about first ballot, but first ballot's going to be difficult if we start doing one a year, because like you may have multiple deserving players. But obviously, you don't want to get to a point where you're doing 2 or 3 a year. And like you don't want to use up all your ammo, right? Or just you don't have that many people that are like, you want it to be. You don't want people to be getting in who, and this is going to sound really callous, but like taint the like quality. You don't want to have 30 people when there should be 10. And I'm not saying there shouldn't only be 10. There's probably, I don't know what the number is. The number might be 30, but you don't do 30 in 10 straight years and then don't know who to add after that. So It's interesting to think about how to do that. I'm glad I'm not a part of that process. I'm glad I just get to vote as a shareholder. And so I think it's going to be some fun ones. And that's a very good question from old Timmy.
If I tell you what, I'm willing to waive all the damn rules that I partially came up with if we win a ship, men or women's team. If we win a ship, I'm waiving all the rules.
That's very funny. I'm actually going to skip the last comment from Albert because it's sad. I was going to mention a funny one, but I'm going to leave that one alone because it wasn't. It's making me sad. But thank you for those comments on the YouTubes. I'm sorry we took a little while to get to them. We took a little break, obviously, when things got busy, and so now that we're back, we'll be trying to be a little more diligent with some mailbag stuff. Yeah.
So let's. Now that we are recording on August 1st, and this will be released on August 1st, which I just put a time clock on you now. You're welcome. So we've got Toronto on the weekend, and then we've got 3 straight road games afterwards. At Huntsville, at Crown Legacy, and then at Miami. The Crown Legacy and Miami games, and Huntsville, will all be our second trips to those locations on the season. And on all 3 of those cases will be our last time playing each of those 3 teams. So a big month coming up. We'll close it on Sunday of Labor Day weekend with Atlanta at home. And then we've got, Columbus, and then a break, and then at New England, at Toronto. And then we close the season on MLS Next Pro Decision Day at home with New York Red Bulls at the beginning of October.
So
this is the business end.
The goal remains for you and I on this podcast. Being in the top 4 was fun, and we still like to get back there. Just make the playoffs, baby.
Yeah, and where are we now? 31 points. We need 10 more. Probably 13 would make me feel a lot better. But we need, so like we're in a good position. And these games that we have.
How many more games we have left?
9.
We should be able to get 10 points in 9 games.
I would hope so.
Also,
and like, you know, depending on how, like, think about who's at the top of the league right now. You've got Cincinnati, you've got Philadelphia, you've got Chicago, and New York City, now that they're finally getting some of those games in hand. That's basically your top 4.
Mm-hmm.
What's the common thread of those 4 teams?
We've already played them.
And?
They're all in the Northeast.
And?
I don't like them.
We don't play them again.
Yeah.
We've already played them. We don't play them again. And they all have to play each other more. So what that does is...
It does mean the third and the fourth place could be a little closer to us.
If those teams beat up on each other, there is a chance for the best team in the Southeast Division of the Eastern Conference to be able to sneak their way up, and you do that by being the best team in the Southeast Division. You win your games in your division. So like this game against Huntsville matters a lot. We'll play Toronto twice.
What actually? I mean, yes, it matters to beat Huntsville, but like what really matters is to continue to try to get 3 points at home and 1 point on the road, and let the draws fall, let the extra points fall where they may. But we have more than enough home games that if we just win our home games, we're good.
Right.
Almost certainly good. So you and I are basing that line on like the line of points to make the playoffs of the last 2 years. So unless something goes crazy different, the line to make it is going to be roughly 40 points, right?
Because we've got Toronto, we've got Atlanta, Columbus, and Red Bulls. We got 4 home games left.
If you win 3 of those, you're at 9 points. We're probably right around that playoff. I'm not saying we only need to win those, but I'm just saying we have 4. If we win our 4 games at home, it takes us 12 points. If we draw our 4 games on the road,
should be 5.
If we draw our 5 games on the road, that would take us to 17 points. We'll be fine. So obviously, we're probably not going to do that exact thing because you're going to maybe win 1 away and lose 1 at home or tie 1 at home or whatever.
Right.
But like the goal needs to continue to be, as it has been forever in soccer, if you win at home and you draw away from home, and those are the considered good results, if we do that on average, we're going to be fine. And we have plenty of games to do that. And now that we've kind of, at least for one game, very small sample size, reverted to our earlier season form where we've controlled the game.
Yeah.
If we just play like we played the other night, we're going to win most of our games at home, and we're going to win a couple of our games away, and we're going to be fine.
Yeah, exactly.
Thank you, listeners, viewers, for listening, for viewing, for watching, for hanging out. If you're not subscribed to YouTube, please do so. It'd make me happy. Even though I love having that nice number, it'd be cool to start creeping towards that 100 subscribers mark. Give us some comments. Let us know what kind of questions you have, what you think we should be thinking of and talking about. And we will catch up with you soon. We'll see you Saturday. Peace.